It looks like we are live. Um, Thank you everyone for joining us this morning. We are very excited to be here with a panel of experts around the topic of protecting your content from script to screen with a very special guest from Trusted Partner Network. If you do have questions throughout this, please just go ahead and put it in the chat and we will address it at the end of the conversation. But first off, thank you everyone for your time. And if you could in the chat, just put where you're from, that would be great just for us to get a sense of where everyone is joining us from. So basically the topic today is a pretty exciting and one that's near and dear to me. I've been in the content and cybersecurity space for over 20 years at this point. And so being able to see it evolve to a point where there is a Trusted Partner Network and just having the dedicated focus to it is pretty exciting. So I'm excited to talk about it today and really focus on protecting for us what is the most valuable asset within the media entertainment industry. It's really the content side. So we'll start off with meeting the panelists. First off, I'm Candice Liu. I am an EVP of Qvest. I, again, have been in this space for too long of a time. So I have seen it when we were focusing on content security and it was really just about the film, the final film product, really caring about that final reel that was on a truck sitting somewhere and making sure that no one stole it, all the way up until now, where even the idea of a costume or the name of a film we're trying to protect. And so from everything when it comes to on site or on the cloud, we have to really make sure we know what's going on. So having been in consulting for this long, and again, just focusing in cyber and content, being able to talk about this today with Melody and Aaron, it's very exciting. Melody, thank you again for joining us today. Melody is a program manager with TPN, and she has extensive experience in media entertainment as well. So Melody, if you don't mind giving us a little bit of an introduction of yourself.
Sure, of course. Thank you, Candice. I'm so glad to be here. I've been the program manager with Trusted Partner Network since January of this year, and it's so great to be able to connect with stakeholders and partners like you all at Qvest and our members and others from the industry. So really happy to be here. Before working with TPN, I spent the last 6 years at Netflix, where I managed dubbing and audio description for a Netflix original series, both nonfiction and scripted. And before that, I was at Deluxe for 10 years, working in subtitling and localization for home entertainment releases.
Great. Thank you, Melody. What's great about your background is that you have the really experience from the vendor side, from the studio side, and then now within TPN. So it'll be great to be able to hear your perspective from kind of all those different angles.
Thanks.
Aaron Matthews, who is the head of cybersecurity with our New York office. Aaron, if you could just talk a little bit about your background.
For sure. I appreciate for inviting me. Hi, everyone. My name is Aaron. I'm responsible for supporting the cybersecurity practice at Qvest, especially for our New York office. I've been in cybersecurity field for over 20 years now. And over that time, I've worked in a wide variety of industries, such as telecom, banking, aviation, defense, and even the nuclear plants. But in the last 2 years, my focus has been mainly into media and entertainment industry. So I'm so excited to be here and discuss TPN. So looking forward to share some industry insights. Thank you.
Perfect. All right, so let's get into it. TPN, what is it all about, Melody?
So Trusted Partner Network is a content security initiative and community network, and we're wholly owned by the Motion Picture Association. So TPN supports the media and entertainment industry globally, and this includes all of the major studios who are MPA members. So that's Netflix, Sony, Disney, Paramount, Warner, and NBC Universal, as well as other content owners like Apple, Amazon, BBC, Sky Studios, MultiChoice, and many more are TPN members. And we have service provider members in almost 50 countries, totaling over 570 different companies. So we provide this network that is dedicated to content security.
That's a great set of logos. Can you talk a little bit more about what your mission is?
Sure. Our mission is to support the community in keeping content safe for content creators and helping the companies and freelancers that work on this content so they can understand how they can keep it safe. So as I mentioned, the major studios are all MPA members and TPN members, and they all have a seat at the table and are invested in this work because it's their content at stake, right? So they've all been deeply involved during the updates and maintenance of the MPA best practices to the evolution of the TPN program and how assessments are done, the information that they have available in our platform and that they can see in assessment reports. And the studios have all been a part of it and all had a say in this.
Can you tell us a little bit about the shift between the pre-pandemic world and now, especially since really the idea of working remotely and having content access via cloud has become more and more prevalent? Can you talk a little bit more about that shift and how TPN has addressed that?
Of course, before the pandemic, TPN was really set up for site assessments in person of facilities. But, then the world changed and so many started doing work remotely, and TPN realized that they needed to pivot and think about cloud security as well. So more focus on cybersecurity. When our president, Terry Davis, joined, she worked fast toward this new initiative and hired Crystal Pham, who widened the scope of the MPA best practices to also cover application and cloud at this point. So their mission over the last year was also to make these best practices and the assessment process more efficient and user-friendly. So they worked hard to clean up and consolidate the best practices with the content owner members that I mentioned, also update the TPN membership program, and launch our new TPN Plus platform, which launched in February. And this was all to keep up with the needs of the industry and scale for efficiency and global scope.
That's great. I mean, we know that our industry keeps evolving, so being able to address all those different types of, again, whether it's systems or on-site pieces of it is fantastic. Who would you say TPN is best suited for?
Well, TPN is here for everyone in media and entertainment. Not only do we have a lot of helpful information on our website, ttpn.org, but the MPA content security best practices are publicly available there. So anyone can access them. Anyone can download them, build their business practices around them, live by them. That is there as a reference for everyone. Additionally, people can give feedback to us on the best practices. So we like to say that we're here to support the industry, be a neutral party, and provide a means to show your security status. So for any service provider who joins TPN membership, we help them get situated in the platform. We answer any questions that they have. We make sure that they understand the benefits of being a TPN member. So that would be access to the TPN Plus platform where they can answer the best practices questionnaire. They can specify which security controls they have in place. They can also note which controls aren't applicable to them. To give this full transparency to the studios who also access the platform and are making independent risk-based choices about who works on their content and who has access to their content. So if a service provider chooses to self-report, meaning fill out the best practices questionnaire, they can get the TPN Blue Shield, and they can use that to represent that they have self-reported their security status, and they get the TPN Blue Shield, and they can use that to promote. So if they proceed then to get their site or app assessed by a third-party assessor, they will go through that process and then get a TPN Gold Shield. So we also work closely with assessors, and we're lucky to have an incredible pool of assessors with lots of experience like Aaron, and all of them are certified to do site assessments, cloud assessments, or both. So as an assessor, participating in the TPN program means having your information and photo online on our website. We have an assessor directory that's available to everyone. And then also, if you are in the assessor program, you're also visible in our platform for service providers to request assessment from you in there.
So really bottom line, TPN is for everyone who's handling content. But I will say that the information that does exist on that website is very straightforward. And I think from the assessor side, having been involved in figuring out how to go about doing it, you've made it very intuitive. So definitely appreciate that. What are you seeing in terms of TPN changing? Like, what ways are you seeing the cybersecurity industry shift in media entertainment and how TPN is helping with that?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, like I have years of experience in media and entertainment. And I remember like many years ago working at Deluxe and building workflows that were based on recommendations or demands from the studios that we were working for. For example, the one person who was going to be watching the Breaking Bad last season, every single episode, we had to have them in a secured part of the facility in Burbank. They had to sign a specific SLA and had to receive training to manage all of the steps of that process to keep it contained, to make sure that, there were no content leaks or plot leaks. And then fast forward to now, so much is done in the cloud remotely, and the MPA best practices are readily available to service providers, so that they can, make sure that they are meeting those requirements and those recommendations. And content owners can see in our platform what service providers have going to ensure that secure environment, instead of having to, mandate special considerations or specific workflows to be able to, handle like a certain scenario like Breaking Bad many years ago. So it's so handy for the content owners to just be, kind of looking at our platform as a one-stop shop for information and visibility, and to access service providers and see their best practices questionnaire answers, and to make sure that they can confidently make those independent risk-based decisions based on what they see in there.
Yeah, I think that the Breaking Bad example is a great one. I think any of us that have worked in this space for as long as we have an example like that where it was so tailored. And I think even from a vendor perspective, not just from a studio standpoint, the ability to be able to have that certification and that stamp to be able to say we're good to go, versus for every single title and every single scenario or whatever creative is coming in to go see it, that you have to tailor the security around that. It is definitely a lot more effective this way. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
thanks, Melody.
Yeah.
Again, if anyone has any questions, please go ahead and put it in the chat and we will address it at the end. So Erin, I'm going to turn it over to you. You've completed multiple security assessment projects for Qvest clients. What are some of the true objectives you've seen and how has it impacted our clients?
Yes, absolutely. So we've been doing security assessment and a lot of customers have been happy with the results. But in terms of the underlying objective, the goal really of TPN or any security assessment is sort of to identify weakness in our security posture so that they can take action and improve the defenses against cyber attacks. So that's pretty much really it is. But in terms of the impact to our clients, I'll share a couple of real examples actually. So this is about one of our major studio where we were conducting assessment of their network infrastructure. We discovered gaps in their CDN. The CDN is the content delivery network. And to be more specific, those gaps were related to the authentication protocols, which were obsolete and making those entire infrastructure vulnerable to cyber attacks. And there was another high risk finding for that client that came from the fact that they used a third-party providers. So what they did is first, they decided to update their infrastructure with the latest encryption technology, just to make sure that their authentication methods are secure. And then they started to do a full due diligence check for all of their third-party providers. So that way they were able to, remediate this on a high priority. Yeah, so this was for one client. One of the recent example for another client, I can talk about that. They were into a game development studio. So they wanted to protect their intellectual property. Post-assessment, we discovered two real vulnerabilities. One was in their source management system where they used to store all of their IPs. And second was about the employee training, which is usually overlooked and it's poorly designed across all industry, not just media. But for this client, security training, especially in their security training, they were missing a key topics on IP protection. So first, what they did is they quickly implemented the controls to protect their source management system. which was their actual source repositories. And then second, they started conducting regular training sessions to educate their employees on the importance of protecting their intellectual property. Yeah, so these are just a few of the examples. I'm sure there are a lot out there that definitely serve as a reminder for all of us of the cyber threats that could really compromise the security of our most important asset, which is the content.
Yeah, I think the bottom line is really about proactivity. I think
Right.
back in the day before, and I keep saying back in the day, I feel like I've been doing this but I have been doing it for so long. It used to be that a leak would happen and then we would react. And then we would find out, oh, it was because we didn't train our team that they shouldn't be posting something up a week before they needed to. And all of a sudden it was in a folder that other people had access to. So, it really is about right now, finding out what your vulnerabilities are and getting ahead of it before that leak happens. Where, before all of this was in place, it was really just, we'll figure it out when something leaks. So this is a much better approach.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wanted to go back again to the audience just to better understand. And again, please participate in the chat. Just where in the content life cycle are people most concerned about threats and where TPN assessments could come into play for them? We'd just love to hear a little bit more from the audience if possible. Going back to Aaron, I know that you've seen some of the trends and some of the results from these industry reports. Wanted to get a perspective from you on just what the data breach impact is and the financial costs to the industry.
Absolutely. So I put together a report. Let's look at what I found, in different reports. So at the top of the deck, that's according to IBM report, especially the average total cost of data breach in our industry has gone up from 1.65 million in 2020 to 3.17 million in 2021, which is a 92.1% increase. And that's a big jump. And especially the most recent report, what I see from IBM, it still says it's over 3 million mark. So this is just for media and entertainment industry, but the average cost for all industries in the US has hit 9.4 million, which is the highest of any country actually. Yeah, so the next piece of data you see is about the piracy. It comes from the Executive Office of the President of the US. The US economy lost at least 29.2 billion each year because of online piracy. I feel this is so important for all of us to know. That's why I pulled that information here. And their study also shows that over 80% of illegal streaming is no longer done through BitTorrent. In fact, it is done with piracy devices, the apps, those usually send live TV shows and video on demand content. So that's something to take a note of actually. Now let's quickly move to the graph on the left. So it was put out by Sophos, which is a cybersecurity company. They conducted a survey on ransomware attacks across 26 different countries, and then they published this report. Well, we've seen ransomware news about hospitals, government agencies, but I was surprised to learn that 60% of all ransomware attacks happened only in the media and entertainment industry. So 60% really speaks volume.
Wow, that's a staggering amount, 60%.
Yes.
Wow. And what does the graph to the right say?
Yeah, so these are actually the types of incidents. I picked this report from Verizon, especially this graph, because it shows how incidents in the media and entertainment industry are categorized and how the threat landscape looks right now for the media industry. So here I wanted to point out that most of these top incidents can be really proactively addressed before they even happen, just by doing TPN assessment. So TPN, has total of 4 domains, but just the 2 organizational domain and the technical security domain are really required to assess all of the controls needed to fix all of these threats that you see here. So just to summarize, all of these reports clearly shows that it is so important that we recognize the value of security assessment.
Yep. Yeah. And, I guess back to you, Melody, in terms of seeing all this, how do you think these assessments really help out the vendors and kind of the companies involved in all this?
Well, yeah, thanks, Aaron, for that information. That's so interesting, and glaring.
Yeah.
So, Candice, to your question, so for these companies, this is their reputation on the line, right? So being dedicated to meeting the TPN best practices by showing that they're TPN members, that they've had TPN assessment, of service providers demonstrating how important security is and how seriously they do take it. So this is a crucial message to express to content owners that you want to work for. It's always good for your company's brand to be associated with content security and cybersecurity and ticking off those boxes of what is outlined in the MPA best practices. Before joining the team here at TPN, I had heard of TPN, but I wasn't involved in content security specifically as part of my day-to-day. But working on the studio side at Netflix, I knew how important it was to keep content information secure. So oftentimes there were even creative deals that depended on this, just making sure that even any kind of detail was kept contained and secure. Working on nonfiction content, especially, could have a really extreme focus on security because we were often managing real life happenings that affected schedules and topics and, would require re-edits, et cetera. We even had to consider physical safety of our subjects. So having to manage security titles plus security names, making sure that we could trust a number of translators, dub directors, audio mixers, even voice talents all over the world. We as the content owner had to make sure that the partners we were working with would manage and maintain the confidentiality and security that was necessary. And this is exactly what the TPN Plus platform facilitates to show what service providers are doing to ensure this security.
Yeah, it goes back to my initial comment, how this has evolved so much, and it really is about script to screen at this point. So you talked a little bit about like how TPN really crosses the entirety of that value chain.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that access and information that is visible to content owners right there in our platform. The service providers are required to honestly answer their TPN questionnaire in the platform. That's in the membership agreement that they sign. So what they report in TPN Plus, what controls are implemented, what are applicable to them, and why, any other non-TPN certificates that they have and they choose to upload. This is all visible to the content owners in the platform. So when service providers then proceed to get their site or app assessed with their questionnaire answers by a TPN assessor, the content owner now has that extra level of confidence in the security status of that site or app. And this helps them with those independent risk-based decisions that they're making. For something that is maybe a super confidential release, they don't want anything leaked, including cast information, plot points, etc., to then content that has already been released, maybe a long time ago, like the Seinfeld reruns that I watch every night. Maybe those don't require that level of security confidence for the content owner. So the TPN Plus platform holds all of this information that is accessible to the content owners, and the content owners can even mark security controls that are priorities for them when a service provider is planning their remediation.
Oh, that's great. And Aaron, as a service provider, how do we help clients get either the blue or the gold shield?
Yeah. So our team has a plan for that. How our clients can get their blue or gold shield. We actually made a simple flow chart to show that how the process really works. And I'll quickly show you how this works. So we've come up with 3 different stages. The first one is called advisory phase. When a client directly reach out to us, we tell them how to create an account, a profile on the TPN platform. We will also introduce them directly to the TPN team so they can easily sign up for the TPN account. And then what we do is we then work with them to add their services, their products, and really any assets that they want to include in the assessment. So once that's done, we'll help them fill out the initial security questionnaire to get them self-assessed and then secure their blue shield. That's where the phase 1 ends for us. Then comes the execution phase. Execution phase is when we put the entire plan into action. In this phase, it's really important that we work together with our clients to gain a thorough understanding of their responses for each of their control. After that, we'll start to conduct the actual independent security assessment, which includes making sure all of their supporting evidences and artifacts are uploaded to the platform. And then we send it to the TPN team for mainly for the quality review. Once all of the gaps are identified, then the actual final reports gets published. So that's when the client gets the gold seal. So that's where the major task ends. But then we've added one more layer of support phase. Support phase of our services is optional. And during this phase, our goal is really to help our clients come up with action plans and plans to fix all the gaps we found during the assessment. Yeah, so this is it. I mean, this is our high-level plan and approach, which will make sure that our clients' TPN journey are well-structured and on time.
Well, and I think what's also to underline is there's a thoroughness about this, right? It's not just giving out blue and gold shields wherever
Right.
we want to. You have to be able to make sure that you're looking at the questionnaires and that you're thoroughly addressing them, and then the remediation part of it. Again, that proactivity piece to make sure that you are addressing some of those components that may be higher risk. So
Absolutely.
again,
Yeah, we do a lot of back and forth, especially with
yeah.
the clients, to discuss that what are the controls they have today, and then what are the controls are missing. So those are the interactions are really crucial for this assessment.
So how does someone get started? I mean, how do I sign up for this?
It's super easy to reach us at TPN on our website, which you'll see here, ttpn.org. We have a few buttons that are at the top. So new assessor, you click if you're an assessor interested in applying for our TPN program. New service provider, you can click that, go straight to the platform and create a profile today. If you click need support, that goes straight to our ticketing system, or you can also open a service ticket by emailing support@ttpn.org, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. We say that our team is small but mighty, and we take pride in the way that we support our stakeholders, including the service providers, assessors, and content owners.
So everywhere, I think it seems like everything leads to www.ttpn.org. So
Yeah.
short answer.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for both of your time. We would like to be able to open it up to questions right now. So if anyone has any questions, go ahead and type it into the chat and we will have our panelists answer. All right, so first question, this is for you, Melody, no pressure. How do you ensure the confidentiality and integrity of sensitive information during the assessment?
Okay, great. Well, regarding the TPN Plus platform itself, it is secure. We rely on multi-factor authentication for login, and it is the access is role and permission based. The platform gates off access to service provider profiles for content owners who have not yet signed the membership agreement, which includes a confidentiality section. So a service provider's profile details, including stuff that I mentioned before, like non-TPN security certificates that they choose to upload, their questionnaire responses, any assessor findings, and uploaded remediation evidence. That will be viewed by content owners who signed the agreements. But any evidence that the service provider uploads actually during the assessment process itself, it's not mandatory, and it can only be seen by us at TPN and the one assessor that is selected for the assessment. Content owners can't see that evidence. So it's a very secure platform.
Great, thank you, Melody. Second question, are badges time boxed, as in can they expire if not periodically assessed?
Yeah, great question. So the TPN Blue Shield, that results in someone self-reporting, a company self-reporting their security status and answering the questionnaire. That questionnaire needs to be updated on a yearly basis, mainly because, we are constantly trying to improve our MPA content security best practices. Thus, the questionnaire will change over time. And then The TPN Gold Shield, meaning the service provider has gone through a formal assessment by TPN assessor. That's actually good for 2 years. So that's a big change from the former program, TPN program, when assessments were just good for 1 year. Now that Gold Shield, signifying that you did an assessment, is good for 2 years.
This is kind of related, Melody, in terms of the certifications, qualifications that you previously mentioned. What qualifications or certifications do your cybersecurity assessors typically hold?
So to qualify to be in the TPN assessor program, an applicant must have a valid certification, security certification for site or cloud or both. And this certification needs to be issued from a valid and legitimate certification body that conducts an examination and application process. And the certification is also then verified not only by us, but also a third-party background check company. And we at TPN don't recommend specific certifications, but there are several examples listed in our assessor qualifications document linked out to that website that you were calling out, www.ttpn.org.
That is embedded in my mind right now. All right. Any other questions out there? If not, we could wrap it up. All right. Well, I think that is it. Again, just thank you so much, Melody, Aaron, for your time in discussing this today. It is such an important initiative within our industry. So just having more information out there and having people participate is critical. For more information about us here at Qvest and our services, you can scan this wonderful QR code or reach out to us directly. And then to learn more about TPN, again, www.ttpn.org. So go on their website, or you can find them on @Trusted Partner Network on LinkedIn. And thank you for all those that joined today and for everyone's time. And if you missed this webinar, it'll be up on our YouTube channel shortly. So if you want anyone else who didn't happen to join to see it, you can guide them to that site. So thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye-bye.